Your Partner in Success Radio is a free business podcast with host Denise Griffiths. It's all about great stories, conversation, and context to help you move your business and life forward with actionable tips and advice from her guest experts. To listen and subscribe, just find us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you consume your podcasts.
Welcome to Your Partner in Success Radio with your host, Denise Griffiths. Today, I welcome Link Forrester, who is a distinguished financial advisor, an author known for his unique blend of humility, faith, and humor. And with over 32 years in the financial services industry, he has built a career centered on fostering enduring relationships with clients, prioritizing their long-term financial security and life goals. And as the co-founder and principal of On Point Wealth, Link approaches wealth management with a stewardship mindset, and I love that, focusing on expert guidance, and multi-generational planning rather than mere ownership of assets. I need to apologize. I've got something going on with my throat and I'm coughing a lot, so I may be muting a lot and making silly mistakes when I'm trying to introduce my guest. But Link's personal journey, marked by unexpected parenthood and career changes, showcases his ability to navigate life's challenges with resilience and faith. And through his memoir, The Side Road, Finding Joy and Purpose Through the Twists and Turns of Life, he shares his commitment to viewing life's detours as opportunities for growth and discovering deeper meaning. Link, I'm losing my voice, so you take over. You're going to be doing all the talking. Good morning and welcome to Your Partner in Success Radio.
Denise, good to be with you and your audience. Yes, I have recently written a book called The Side Road, and my son is the one who talked me into writing a book. He, he participates in a bunch of communities and came to me and says, "Dad, you've been in this business for a long time and you're a pretty good storyteller. Why don't you write a book? Everybody who people take seriously write books." And he went so far as to line up 5 different interviews for me with ghostwriters and writing coaches, a company called Scripts. And after all that, I said, "Cole, I don't know if I'm really up for that. I really don't even journal that well. But I tell you what I'll do. I will just open up the computer and give it a try, see where this takes me." And I did do that. I started writing a bunch of life stories, and I probably had about 25 of them down. And I said, well, if I was going to write a book and I have these life stories, what would the chapter titles look like? And I sort of listed a bunch of chapter titles, pick a story, put it in the chapter, wrote about it. It turns out I really liked it. I enjoyed it. It was fun to do. About 70% of the way done, I did hire a writing coach. Amanda Rooker is her name. Split Seed is her company, and she was terrific. She really helped me organize my thoughts and fine-tune some of my writings, and introduced me to a publisher who took it first try. So it ended up being a great experience. And The Side Road is really about overcoming 3 main life challenges. My wife and I got married really young, and we were with child in college. And most marriages don't make it with a start like that. And we're now married 38 years, I think. And still going strong. So that's sort of the first challenge that we overcame. The second was leaving a normal sort of job. I used to work at IBM back at the day, and kind of starting in wealth management. Back then it was mainly insurance planning. We've all migrated through the years from that to financial planning and wealth management. But just kind of going from the safe corporate environment to what I call sort of being naked into the wind working for yourself, and in an industry where people are not dying to talk about or buy the things that you are selling. And then finally, the biggest challenge in our life is we lost one of our four children, and it just talks about the things and that we've done to continue to stay married and live a life with joy and in light of having that kind of loss in your life. So that's what the side road is all about. Denise, are you back with us yet?
I am here, and that's chapter 4 that you're talking about. It's called The Ultimate Loss. I have the book in front of me, and thank you for sending it. It's a terrific book. But what I, excuse me, what I took from it is that you're sharing your commitment to viewing life's detours as opportunities for growth and discovering deeper meaning. And you also emphasize the importance of quick forgiveness. And I'll tell you what, I'm not real good with that part. I try, I do try, but sometimes it's difficult. So let's talk about that a bit.
Yeah, I do think that people are, slow to forgive others, that's for sure, but they're usually even slower to forgive themselves. And I think that's just a real
I just wrote
secret.
that down while you were saying that. I'm the hardest on myself. I'm not nearly as tough on other people.
I agree with that. I think that's why we have so many challenges in life with people's emotional life and identity and who they want to be and who they are. And I just feel like if people can focus on the value of a relationship, the relationship you have with other people, the relationship you have with yourself, the relationship you have with God, all those things, and just be quick to value the relationship first and do everything you can to make it work, and just recognize we're all prone to make mistakes all the time, and we make mistakes in the way we think, we make mistakes in the way the things we say, the things we do. And I think if we can just be really intentional about regularly just reminding ourselves of that and being quick to forgive ourselves and each other, it just makes for a happier life.
And I wanted to go back to the loss of your son, and I'm so sorry. And I've got two questions for you. What role did faith play in your healing process? And maybe just as important or more so, what advice would you give to others facing what's really a life-altering challenge?
Yeah, I mean, faith played a huge role. My wife and I have been strong believers our entire lifetime, and you sort of kind of go through this experience when you say, "My gosh, Lord, why us? I mean, why are you allowing this to happen to us?" And then you start to think about if you're Bible readers, all the people close to Jesus, they all lived challenging lives and died. Many of them died horrible deaths, and you sort of realize that our purpose here on life isn't necessarily to live this just charmed life with no problems, but the Lord has a path in front of us that we're all going to walk down, and we can either walk down faithfully with joy and purpose, or we can continue to walk down that path with uncertainty and disappointment and with more of a victim mentality. And I think that that's sort of the secret, but I don't want to make it like it's an easy thing. I was really mad at God for a while. I mean, it was hard for a while to get over this, and I want to be real and honest about that. But I think over time you begin to realize that God had given him a certain amount of days from the very beginning. It was all part of the plan, and we had 20 great years with him, and it was just awesome. And we'll miss him, for the rest of that time. So faith is key. And but it's no cupcake. It's no easy walk. We continue to, we're sad. We still miss him. That will never go away. Denise, I'm sorry, I forgot your second question. You're going to have to remind me of that one.
I think I forgot it too. I was listening so intently. I have to be honest with you. I'm clutching my stomach. I've had that kind of a loss, not the loss of a child, but what you said about being mad at God. I remember being absolutely furious. I wouldn't even talk to him. I was so ticked off for so long. But I think that's part of the grieving process. I did get over it, but boy, it took longer than it should have, I think. But my question was, what advice would you give to others facing similar challenges that completely alter how you live your life?
I think the key, and I talk about this a little bit in the book, is one is to have sort of an eternal worldview or an eternal perspective of life. I think if your life is just about what happens right here on earth, it's going to lead to disappointment. The journey here in the world is not meant to end in great joy and happiness. That's into the future. And if you have an eternal worldview and you have confidence in what your eternity looks like, then you can handle these little hiccups along the way. And I'm sure that our path will continue to have more challenges as time goes on. I see it now. Our biggest challenge right now is all four of our parents are still alive. They're all in their mid 80s. They're all pretty unhealthy, and it's a challenge. And all of us have a journey in front of us, and these challenges will come now or down the road. And I think it's much easier to handle if you know your future, if you know the end game, and you're confident in that. And I think that really makes all the difference in the world.
And I realized this morning that my brother passed away 4 years ago today, and he had a double lung transplant. He lived for 8 years with it, but the last year was just horrible for him, and he just couldn't take it anymore. And he made the decision, and we had already, as a family, to talk with him about it. And he made the decision to stop dialysis, which he knew would, you know, put him underground in a matter of days, and it did. But we had time to deal with it. With sudden deaths, you just don't, and they will just break you in half. But this one, when he texted me that day, he said, "I'm not going to dialysis today." And I knew what he meant. So I called him and we had a very, I said, "Can I record this?" He said, "Yes." We talked and we talked, and I knew he was going to be gone in a couple of days. And, we chatted, we laughed. We're both snarky people. We apologized for everything, forgave each other for things that we'd forgotten about. It was a much needed conversation. And I guess if I've got anything to say, if you know that somebody's going to pass sooner or later, family members, people you love, have those conversations. You won't regret it.
Yes, I agree. I think that's part of just having a deep relationship with people. It's just being real with them, wanting to talk with them, wanting to understand what they're dealing with. Obviously, in this situation, you know that time is of the essence, and his time left here on earth will be really short. And spending quality time with him, talking about things that matter, talking about things that are just important. And I think that's key. And again, relationships, in my opinion, are the most important thing in our lives. And we need to cherish them, take them seriously, be real, be honest, value them. And I think it sounds like you and your brother had a great kind of finish to his story, which was pretty cool.
We did. And You don't have to wait until somebody says, "Hey, by the way, I'm leaving tomorrow." Have those conversations now. Record them. I really wish that I had recorded my last conversation with my grandmother, but it was a while back and we just didn't have an easy way to record anything. But, when you can hear those voices again, it's helpful. It really is.
I could
Anyway,
definitely see that for
yeah,
sure.
I'm going to start crying on top of coughing on you. I'm going to cry. So let's talk about, the book is terrific, and you sent it to me a couple of months ago, I think, when we did our pre-interview, and I've read it, I reviewed it. I've got sticky notes all over it. It's a small book. It's what I call a pocket book. You can take it, you can put it in your purse, you can take it on the plane with you. You can stick it in the side pocket of your car door if you're stuck in traffic, you can read it. It's just one of those books that I think is very handy to have handy, if that makes any sense.
It is definitely a short book. On the back of the book, the publisher has it's an 82-minute read, so it's almost like a long term paper. But it's full of some fun stories in it. We have a very close family. My family has separation issues. All but one of my children live within a 1 mile circle of me, and therefore all of my grandchildren, all five of them, are inside that 1 mile circle. Right now, my daughter has escaped. She's in Louisville. She's a first year resident there. So she's a surgical resident in Louisville. But we're hoping when that ends, she'll end up in the Atlanta area and get in the circle, which would be great.
I live in Cajun country. I'm smack in the middle of Cajun country. And it is not unusual at all to drive down the street on the way to the grocery store and see a sign that says Eight Siblings Road. They have a compound out there. It's
Yeah.
very, it's very common here among Cajun families in particular to, stay very close. Maybe they've divided up their farm and, each person has a house. Not unusual at all. Could I do it? No, I can't, I couldn't. But that's, the difference between very, very close families in proximity and somebody like me. I don't live anywhere near my family. Haven't for, gosh, since I got out of high school. Doesn't mean we're not close. Doesn't mean we don't love each other. I just need to be off by myself. So we do what we
Yeah.
need to do. But you said she escaped. I wrote that down. I'm gonna want to know when she comes back to the fold. You're gonna have to tell me.
Yeah. Well, we're hopeful that could happen. But she seems to be doing fine in Louisville, and it's going to be a long road. This is a 5-year program, and she's in year one, so it won't be anytime soon. But yeah, I can't even turn around my driveway without a couple of my grandkids. I mean, come running out because 4 of them live across the street from me.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, there's very little alone time here. You're always with somebody, it seems like.
Right, right. I'm glad that works for you. It wouldn't work for me at all. I am a highly committed introvert and I'm not even shy about it. I've got a sign on my door. This is no joke. When I bought this house, literally between Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, so that was, gosh, 20 years ago, longer than that. But I put a sign, half of my door is glass panels, and I put a sign on there and it says, unless you have been invited or you are expected, do not knock or ring. And I'm dead serious about that. Yeah, it's like just don't even think. And the UPS guy, if I get a new UPS guy, I can see him through the blinds going, should I ring? And then he says, nope, I'm just going to drop the package and off he goes. But
That's funny.
doesn't mean I'm shy. I just need to be left alone. Some people are
Well,
like that. We have to figure out where we live in the world.
and I talk about that a little bit in the book, is that my wife and I are a little bit different. She's a little more introverted than I am and really likes more alone time. And I think that was part of the key to grieving well together when we did lose Tyler, is just sort of knowing each other well and what we need. We're not going to do the same things, feel the same things, want the same exact experience. So knowing how to appreciate the fact that we're going to handle things a little differently, I think is sort of key to grieving well together, keeping life on the rails when everything seems to be going off the rails. And I do think that's sort of a key thing.
Can you share a personal experience? And you talk a lot about forgiveness in your book, and you believe that it's crucial in maintaining relationships. So, can you share a personal experience where forgiveness played a significant role either in your personal life or your business life?
Um, I make so many mistakes every day. It seems like, even now, that I'm so quick to, let people know, hey, I'm very sorry. You know, I'm a competitive person, yet I want to win or lose with some kind of grace, and that's sometimes hard. I'm struggling to give you an exact story, but it the deal for me is this is an everyday sort of experience. Every day I'm asking myself, even when other people can't see it, hey, what's really going through my mind? How am I really thinking? Am I really being authentic here? Probably not. I'm sort of disappointing myself. So, um, I'm struggling to give you an exact story, but there are
Understand where you're
many
going.
and continuous for
Right,
me.
right.
I always tell people, uh, you know, the longer you were together, the longer we're friends, there's more opportunities for me to disappoint you. And our pastor, my favorite, this is in the book, but one of my favorite sermons he's ever given is titled "Cheer Up, You're Worse Than You Think You Are."
Okay, now you have to give me a synopsis. I need to know.
Well, he's just talking about the fact that, the deeper your relationship is with God, the deeper your what you realize is on the inside, the more you sort of unpeel the onion, that you will just realize that we're sort of really bad all the way to the core. We all need forgiveness. We all need people to treat us kindly, because we're really not deserving. And I think that's sort of the key.
I'm gonna have to sit with that for a little while. Okay, so back to and thank you for sharing that. Back to the book. You told us what inspired you to write it, but what do you hope readers can take away from it?
I think the book's funny. It's got a bunch of funny stories in it. Got a you know our It's got some funny travel stories, and we spent a lot of time traveling to college sporting events. We're Auburn fans, which means we're sort of usually disappointed, but we're committed. And but I think there's some real sort of truths and things that people can take from the book, but hearing it sort of in a different way, in a way that's real and genuine. And that's kind of my hope. I hope people enjoy the book. I like the book. I think my wife likes the book okay. But um, yeah, I think, my goal is if anyone reads it and it can have any impact, particularly if they're dealing with, the loss of a loved one in particular, and reading the book can help them. I think that would be awesome.
About books. I'm a voracious reader. I started reading when I was 3 years old. No joke. Because I was always an introvert. I was the only introvert in the house, and I always hid behind. I would stack books and get behind them and just read my way through them. Fortunately, everybody else liked to read, but they also liked TV, and I hated TV. I hated the noise. I just hated it all. So I read, and in this room, in my office, I have hundreds of books in here. And every single book in here, without exception, came from people like you, people who are my guests. And I read a lot of them over and over again. And I find, and I'm sure you found this as well, anybody who reads know this, you're going to pick up a book, happens to me all the time, and it's going to flop open to the page that I'm looking for somehow. And when I read it this time, it's different to me because I have different perspectives. Things have changed a bit. So books are important to have handy.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not as big a reader as you are. As a matter of fact, I've begun cheating some. I'm a sort of a big Audible person now, and I mainly read fiction. All the Vince Flynn, and now I'm reading these Daniel Silva books, and so it's funny how we all, and, you know, I used to read more, but now I listen. Seems like I listen to more books these days. But but yeah, I do agree that reading is so important. And one problem I have is sometimes finishing books. I get started and I just don't stay committed. Particularly nonfiction books, and won't be a problem with this book. This book is short enough that I'm pretty sure most people will read it and be able to finish it pretty easily. So, and I'll never forget it. My pastor, who's a good friend of mine, I told him, I said, look, the publisher wants me to write for this book to be longer. And I said, I'm kind of out, I've given it my best effort. And he says, hey, man, don't worry. Most of the people that will read your book, Link, are probably men. They're terrible about finishing books. The shorter the book for them, the better.
Is that
So
true? I
yeah,
didn't know
he
if
did
that's
tell me
true.
that. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's true that he told me that. And so I went with it, and I just stuck with it being pretty short. And I still like it. I think it's a fun read, and we have a fun family, and so people can get a little glimpse into our lives and maybe get a little ounce of truth out of it too, which would be great.
I read a book, and I've done this all of my life. I will start with maybe the first chapter. And if it's got my attention and I want to continue with the book, then I flip to the end. Because if it's got a bad ending, I just can't do it. I got to go. I'm just not going to do it. But I've always done that. And I did that with your book. I, started at the beginning, I flipped to the end, and then I started making my way through the middle. It's a great read. I mean, it's short, it's sweet in so many places, and it's pithy. Pithy. I like it. I think it's a terrific book and I recommend it to anybody. So let's go back to wealth management because I think you told me in our pre-interview that your approach to wealth management is as a steward rather than an owner. So I guess my question is, how does this mindset influence your work with clients?
I mean, yeah, let me just say, I think that's true about everything in my life. I try to view everything in my life as sort of something I'm stewarding. I don't own it. I'm managing it. I want to manage it well, do a good job with it. I view that the way I view my children, and that's a way that helped us sort of get over losing Tyler at a young age. That Tyler was never ours to begin with. He was God's. God had a plan for him, and we were there to steward our relationship and our parenting and how we handled him. And I think that's not just in my business. I view that with everything in my life. And but as it relates to um, financial management, we're planners first. So our goal is to get to know our clients really well. We want to know them better than anyone else. We want to be able to journey with them down this road of life and help them make good financial decisions as well as life decisions. And I think most people are prone to make bad financial decisions. And whether it's when to take Social Security, whether it's whether they should buy this or not buy it, or whatever it may be. And if you can have a plan in place that people are committed to and help them accomplish their goals, then I think you're well on your way to, being a great advisor for them. I don't think people work with us because we have the best large cap growth manager or hedge fund manager or whatever it may be. We have good investment partners, but hopefully they work with us because we know them well. We have their best interest in mind. We're helping them make good decisions. We're managing their money well based on their risk tolerance. We're giving them the best return possible based on their level of risk that they're willing to accept. And so that's how we work. And we have a good team, great people. We're all kind of aligned in the way that we act and believe and all of that. And I think that plays well with our clients.
So I guess my next question is, how do you integrate your faith, which is clearly very important to you and your family, in your professional life, particularly in the financial services industry? Although I will say, I've noticed in the last maybe year, there's more of an attention paid to faith and to not be so ugly all over social media. It seems like we're at a turnaround point, which I'm liking.
Yeah, I think that's always a little dicey. I mean, we want to be really honest and good people and people who are helpful. I don't know that we are promoting our faith as it relates to acquiring clients or maintaining clients. We don't work with any particular type of client per se, but we want to be honest, trustworthy people and helpful. And so that's what we're trying to do in our business world. And if an opportunity comes up to talk about faith, we're certainly open to doing that and sharing, but that's not primary in our work relationship with clients. We want to help them. We want to help them achieve their goals and be trustworthy advisors for them.
So you and I had talked about eternal worldview the last time we spoke. So how do you help clients navigate financial decisions with an eternal worldview? And what is an eternal worldview for people who are saying, what's she talking about?
Yeah, we talked briefly even on this call about that already. And I do think having an eternal worldview, having confidence in the end game and your future makes life better. And as it relates to financial planning, helping people with legacy and thinking about what to do if they have excess dollars late in life or even earlier in life, and gifting strategies and ways to manage their money well for themselves and their families, or the charities or causes that they're passionate about, I think are things that we talk about regularly with clients. But I do ultimately think that one of the secrets of life is having a really long game view of your life, not just your 80 years here, but maybe your eternal years and how they look like, what they look like. And if you do believe in that, this is just a glimpse, a vapor, this is just a moment. So whatever you're going through, good or bad, it keeps it in perspective.
And I wanted to ask you because we are talking about financial services, uh, and I was writing down while you were talking. My sister is quite well off, and I've always been so proud of her. I mean, she's managed to amass quite a fortune, even in California, and keep most of it, which is kind of
Wow,
interesting.
that
I
is
know
impressive.
she's very good at what she does. But every once in a while, and we're a snarky family, that's our language. It's our love language, I guess. And I got a text from her the other day. She said, "Okay, I'm telling my son that if he doesn't straighten up, I'm going to leave everything to Titan, which is his dog and her god dog, and my dog Hannah." I said, "Okay, but don't make me the executor because nobody will get anything." And she's like, "Oh, thanks for letting me know." But you know, and she is actually, I think, I mean, a lot of it is going to go to her son, obviously, but she's also giving a lot of thought to wounded warriors and pet societies, outside of just dumping it all on him. She's going to make some pretty decent requests or bequeaths to pets, pets and animals. And I love that. I'm going, yeah, do it. So these are things we have to decide. And if you're like my best friend Maggie, who is not married, I'm not married, we put together our wills and executors not so long ago after her sister passed away unexpectedly. And she said, "What are we going to do with it all?" I said, "Animal hospitals, animal, missions, wounded warriors, tunnels to tower. I know exactly where it's all going, if there's anything left."
I do think that generous people are typically happy people. And whether you're a giver during your life to these causes or a death or whatever it may be, if you hold all the things in your life with a bit of an open hand and are willing to share and handle, I think that's good. I think if your fist is too clutched around all that you have too tightly, and you're not wanting to share or think about, you know, causes bigger than yourself, I think it leads to real problems and selfishness and a challenging perspective of the things that you have been given. So I do think a spirit of generosity is awesome, and whether it's to people or animals, and whether it's while you're alive and where you can see that what happens to the giving or when you're gone, all those things are good, healthy.
This just popped into my head as a long ago conversation with my nephew who he needed a loan. And I don't like to loan to family. I don't think anybody does, but he needed it and he needed it very badly. So I sent it to him and he called me and he was practically crying. He said, "I'm so sorry I had to use it for something else other than what he'd told me it was for." And I said, "Listen, once that money leaves my hand, it's no longer my business." And I think that shocked him. It was no longer my money. It was his.
I think that's important. Even when you give to organizations that disappoint you, it's okay. The giving is really about how it impacts you and your spirit. And people will make mistakes. I lent a friend money and it didn't go well, and he was unable to pay me back. And it was an opportunity. This might have been a good example of what you had asked me earlier. I
Yeah.
got over it pretty quickly. Was quick to say, "Look, I'm not going to let this mess up our relationship." I gave him a he was able to help me with something and sort of work off that money he kind of owed me, sort of. And I thought it was sort of a win-win for both of us. And but it's it's okay. I think you can't control how people will uh, handle what you give to them or loan to them, and you just need to. It's not that's not important. you want to make sure you have your heart's right. And a lot of times our heart can be not right even during that. We have some sort of, maybe we're getting recognized for something we're giving, and it sort of is impacting us negatively, and we need to be aware of that, and sort of the challenges that can come with stuff like that too. So
And honestly, he didn't even need to call me and tell me what happened with the money. I didn't care. It was no
yeah,
longer my money. It was his money, his decision. And I'm pretty firm about that. Once I've given you it, I don't care if you're at the grocery store and I'm paying for my groceries, that's no longer my money. I got the groceries, now I'm leaving. Yeah, it's just a way to look at life. It's like, it's a trade or it's a gift, but you can't pretend that you're in charge of it anymore.
yeah. I mean, you can't control that. Oftentimes, another thing my uh, pastor used to say, "Hey, man, major on the majors, minor on the minors. Don't let these little small things in life throw you off." And I think that's sort of a key to being happy. And again, if there's no worse thing now than the whole political environment and all the negative news and everything that's going on. I mean, you can't let that get to you. You just sort of gotta move past all that and just do the best you can every day, and um, not be disappointed by whoever, because people will disappoint you. That's just part of life.
Rules, actually. I wanted to ask you, I know you like to golf. So how do you balance your professional responsibilities with family life and personal interests like golfing? Isn't golfing one of those things that's expensive and time consuming? I don't know anything about it, but I think I know that much about it.
Golf is expensive and time consuming, and golf and marriage do not go well together. It's not good. But I am an avid golfer, and I do play a fair amount of golf, and I do it some with through work and some um, just for fun. My wife told me if I joined another golf club, she would divorce me, so I'm not going to do that. Three is enough,
Three.
and and
I'm with her.
yeah. Um, so I tell people in the story, my wife wants me to put her, first in my life, or at least ahead of golf, right? And so so that's sort of something in my life that is a challenge, is managing my time. And I say this in the book, when you're young, and we had four kids and we were busy, and I mean, life is not hard to figure out. Everything is urgent, everything needs to happen now. We're dividing and conquering and all of that. But when you become an empty nester, and then you're making a decision on how you're spending your time, I think couples can really be challenged with that. And now my wife says, "Hey, you could have spent that day with me, but now you're choosing to play golf." And in my work, I do have a decent amount of free time, more than I had early in my career. Now that we have this larger team, and I'm surrounded with people who are better at my job than I am, so I do have more free time. And I think that's a real challenge for couples. And that's why I think why you see so many couples can't make it once they get out of the time in life when things are so urgent and so immediate and so unavoidable. Now, all these things are real decisions, and you are making someone a priority or not making someone a priority. So I do think that's a challenge. That's probably one of the bigger challenges in my life, is to keep golf in the right perspective. So
I've noticed, and maybe this is just an old wives' tale kind of a joke, but so many wives, once their husbands come home and sit at the kitchen table and watch everything they do, they just don't even know this guy and they don't want him in the house, which I think is probably somewhat true. I've watched my grandparents go through that, and I remember my grandmother looking at him and say, "Why are you here? You're breathing. Why?" I mean, she just got to where she couldn't stand him. They didn't divorce, but they didn't get along well. But they hadn't, from my perspective, and I could be dead wrong, they hadn't spent much time together anyway. So they really didn't know one another.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that we are wanting to fight and not happen in our lives. I mean, I tell people I married up. I tell people if my wife's leaving me, I'm going with her. I mean, it was all great. I married my trophy wife first, and I'm all in. But we want to, um, there are times in life when relationships are harder and more challenged, but we want to work on our marriage first. I think a lot of couples don't work on their marriage. They have a family, their lives are around their children, and once that's gone, they don't have a relationship anymore. And we don't want that. We want to have a great relationship. We want to do fun things together, be spontaneous, and we are. But it's not, it takes work. It's not, it just doesn't, you got to be committed to it and realize that you got to work at your marriage just like you work on your job or you work on your hobby or all those things or with your friends. You've got to be committed and want it to be that way.
And
And
learn how to
so that's
compromise.
learn how to compromise. Yeah, which usually means do what she wants.
I was hoping you wouldn't pick that up because my attitude about life is do what you're told and nobody gets hurt. You know?
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that most of the time.
Yeah, there you go. We are just about to run out of time. So what I wanted to ask you too is there anything else? Well, there was something else. I had a thought. I wrote it down. Yep, I'll come back to it if it comes back into my head. But before we end the conversation, is there anything else you'd like for our audience to know? And where can they connect with you?
Well, they can buy the book anywhere they buy books. It's available, wherever. You can always go to link is Link, Forester, Forester, author.com and learn about the book and a link to buy the book there. Um, and this has been fun, Denise. I've enjoyed it and enjoyed our conversations. And I hope your audience if they do get a chance to read the book, that would be great. Thank you. And I know they enjoy these regular visits with you. This has been fun.
A lot. And I know what I wanted to ask you very quickly, and I think I just lost it again. I'm scrolling too fast. Are there any upcoming projects or initiatives that you're excited about?
Uh, I would say no. I think we're in a sort of this great little phase in life, a challenging phase. Like I said, much of our time is doing something for one of our parents. That's where most of our time is right now. I'm not writing any more books. I don't know if this is a one and done, but it's a one and done for now. And, but, no, we are just sort of taking every day as it comes. And, I think that's sort of where we are right now.
Listen, everybody, in this inspiring episode of Your Partner in Success Radio with host Denise Griffiths and financial advisor and author Link Forrester, he shares his transformative journey through unexpected life challenges. And he's known for his book, The Side Road, which I have and I love. And that book discusses how early parenthood and career shifts shaped his approach to, excuse me, wealth management and personal growth. He emphasizes key principles such as prioritizing relationships, embracing stewardship over ownership, living by absolutes, maintaining an eternal worldview, and the power of quick forgiveness. So if you're ready to find purpose and navigate life's twists, excuse me again, and turns with clarity and resilience, dive into this compelling conversation now and discover how to balance faith, finance, and family while pursuing a purpose driven life. So be sure to connect with Link Forrester on his website or LinkedIn. Link, thank you again so much, and thank you for the book. I really appreciate it.
Denise, my pleasure. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Get your voice heard. If you would like to launch your own far-reaching podcast, contact Denise Griffiths at yourofficeontheweb.com and go to the podcast tab.